I think it's time to make another zipper pouch. I'm Jan Howell. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm all about showing you all kinds of DIY projects and giving you lots of tips and tricks on how to make them easier, more efficient, and more enjoyable. I have several other different videos showing you how to make different kinds of zipper pouches, but today I'm going to show you how to make these cute little mini zipper pouches. They're the perfect size to put your jewelry in, your earplugs, your ear pods, and anything else small that you need to keep track of. They're super easy and quick to make. They only take a little bit of fabric. And if you'll stay with me till the end of the video, I'm going to show you different ways that you can embellish your little pouches and customize them to make them unique and adorable. Let's get started. So the first thing, let's go over the materials and items that you'll need. You can just use regular quilter's cotton, and this is a good opportunity to use up some of your fabric scraps. And many of you know that I like to recycle and upcycle clothing. I have a stash of old jeans and old denim that I like to cut up and use when I can. Or if you've watched my other tutorials on how to make your own scrappy fabric panels, I've taken one of my scrappy fabric panels, cut it to size, and I think that will make a cute little pouch as well. You'll also need some lightweight interfacing, or you can use fusible fleece. You'll need a zipper, but you're only going to use 1/2 of the zipper, meaning one side of the zipper, and a zipper pole. I love using zipper by the yard, but of course you can use purchased zippers in the package. I just find that this set comes with all different colors. You can also get the zipper poles to go with them. So there's a lot of options that way. Let's go over the measurements. You'll need to cut 2 pieces, one for the outer pouch and one for the inner pouch. And you'll cut those 3 by 7 3/4 inches. And to reduce bulk, we'll cut the interfacing 2.5 by 7 1/4 inches. So if you're using something like denim or corduroy or something thicker than regular cotton, I'm not going to put fusible fleece or interfacing on the denim or on this panel because it already has fusible fleece on that side. But I will be putting fusible fleece on the lining. If you want to add a little D-ring to hang it with or to hook onto a key ring, you'll need a 1/2 inch D-ring and 2 inches of twill tape, or you can make your own little tab here if you want to out of fabric. But I find twill tape is just easy. And you'll need a zipper pull if I didn't mention that already. You'll need a pair of fabric scissors, and I really like using my rotary cutter and my rotary ruler to get the nice clean edges. If you have those, use that. You'll need a turning stick. Now this isn't absolutely necessary, but I find it helpful. I've shown how to use these before. I have this one, and I really like this gadget. It just helps put those zipper tabs on a little bit more easy, but it's doable without. You'll need your sewing machine, and you'll want to find your zipper foot that goes on your sewing machine. And you'll need an iron and an ironing board. The first thing is to put on the interfacing, and the bumpy side is the side that goes down onto the wrong side of the fabric. I'm going to center that as best I can on the fabric and give it a press. And I like to hit both sides. And I would put it on this side if this wasn't a thicker fabric. Now I've just done a simple embroidery flowered here that will show on the front of the pouch. And you'll want to do that at this time. Or if you want to add anything else. So I am going to put the D-ring on this pouch. Take your twill tape, thread it through, line up the raw edges. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and just baste it in place about 1/8 inch from the edge. Now let me show you how to go about putting the zipper in. I'm going to show you a tip that will be helpful and will save a lot of frustration. There's times when I've been putting a zipper in, and especially when the zipper, it has kind of wavy edge, you'll pin everything in place, the top and the bottom, and by the time you get to the end, the bottom fabric is shorter than the top. It doesn't line up. And that is so frustrating. I have had to unpick so many times. I find it's just easier to use the glue, or I like using pins. Now I love these Wonder Clips, but for some reason it doesn't quite hold like I want it to. Now the trick here is to apply a little bit of glue. Now you can use a regular glue stick. I've shown you this trick before. And there's times when I just think, oh, I can do this without pinning or whatever. It never comes out like I really want it to. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue. You don't want to overdo. We're just tacking it in place. A glue stick works fine, like I said. And this is just glue basted. I've really come to like that. So I'm going to place the wrong side down onto my lining and center it. And this glue won't gum up your needle. Everyone's afraid of that, and it won't. And I'm just going to zap it with the iron, and that helps dry it. My zipper teeth, the right side is facing up. I'm going to put that right side facing down, lining up that top edge here and the bottom edge. And this really is a game changer and is worth taking the time to do this. Okay, now we're ready to take it to the sewing machine. I don't have to use any pins or clips, and I'll sew right down there. You'll want to grab the zipper foot that goes with your machine. Mine looks like this. I'm going to apply it to the leftmost side of the zipper foot. And that zipper foot just allows me to get really close to those teeth. So before I start, I like to bring my presser foot down so the edge is along the edge of the zipper tape. I also like to turn my hand wheel so the needle comes down and I can see where that needle is going to go. And if that's the space I like, I'll leave it. If I want to move my needle either to the left or the right, I can adjust that. Some machines will let you and some won't. So I think we're good. You don't need to backstitch at the beginning or the end of the seam. I'm using just a regular straight stitch with the length at 2.5. Now look at that. They're the same length, and that doesn't happen with pins or clips. So I'm going to flip the wrong sides together now and line it up and press both sides really well, and then we'll come and top stitch. I'm going to fold the lining and the top piece back as far as I can and press it. Going to hold that top thread so it doesn't have a bird nest on the top. I'm going to bring my needle, my presser foot down. Notice where that stitching is going to be, and if that's okay, I'm just going to probably stitch. This will be about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and you don't need to back stitch. For some reason, I lost the footage on the previous pouch that I was making and showing you on. So I'm going to finish it up using this, which will be fun anyway. So I've top stitched and I have my zippers hanging out. And I'm going to show you another tip that makes applying the zipper pull a lot easier. Now I've shown you in previous tutorials these little gadgets that help put the zipper pull on a little easier. You don't need them, but it does make it a little easier. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. But before we do anything else, if you can see that the end of the zipper, that tape starts to fray. And if that's all frayed up, then it makes it more difficult to put the pull on. What I do is I take a lighter and I just barely scorch and melt that end. You see that? And just quickly give it a little zap. All right, take your zipper pull and slip it into the gadget so that the round part is facing up, like that. Then you'll take the wrong side of the zipper that you're putting on, and you'll want to thread those through as even as possible. And it might take a few tries, and the more you do this, the easier it gets. So sometimes you can just fiddle with it for a bit, and sometimes it'll just go right in. So let's see how we do today. So it's going, but you want to make sure that the edges of your fabric are lined up as much as possible. So if that we started it and it ended up not being, just pull it off and try again. But I think we're good. So we're gonna pull that up, take it off the applicator, and zip it just halfway. And as you can see, I put a label on instead of a D-ring on this pouch. And if you wanted to make your own labels and tags, I have a video showing how to do that, and it's really quite easy. And open that up. You want to have the zipper edge pushing towards the lining. So we're lining up our front fabrics. And this is where I'm going to put a pin so it doesn't shift around. And what we're going to do next is sew down the bottom of the front piece and down the side. I'm going to leave this bottom of the lining unsewn right now. I have put the regular presser foot on the machine, and I'm going to start at that folded edge. And I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can use your 1/4 inch presser foot, or I'm just going to use this line on my presser foot to guide me. And you'll want to backstitch at the beginning and end of your seam. And of course you want to remove your pins, and we're going to sew really slow over these zipper teeth. When I know I'm getting close, sometimes I'll just take my hand wheel and turn it so it goes really slow. Don't want to break a needle or skip stitches. And I'll backstitch. So see how that kind of bunches up at the end? I'm going to show you another trick to keep that from happening. And I did that on purpose because I want to show you how to do it otherwise. And it's a good thing to keep your seam ripper on hand And if you have to unpick, it doesn't mean you're a terrible seamstress. It happens. All right, I'm going to put this back under the presser foot, and instead of just sewing and back stitching right there where it might bunch up, I'm going to take an ender piece of fabric, and I keep little scraps of fabric in my little pocket mat here, and I'm going to double that up because I'm using double fabric and it'll be the same height. And I'm just going to sew onto that. I'll back stitch here, but then sew onto that. It gives the feed dogs on your machine something to grab and not bunch up. So let me show you how it's done. So there's my back stitch. And then I'll sew off. You can see how that didn't bunch up, and all I need to do is just clip that off. Works like a charm. And if I were having problems with that bunching up at the beginning when I started to sew, I would just sew onto this first, then line up that edge and smoothly sew onto that piece. So just something that you might find helpful. So cut a bunch of little scraps of fabric and keep them in your little pouch here or by your machine. Now we can clip off the edges of the zipper and clip the corners. And I want to remove as much bulk as I can, so I'm going to cut that down even a little bit more to about 1/8 of an inch. And now turn it right side facing out through the opening of the zipper. Take your turning stick and poke out the corners. And then I'll trim off all these little straggly threads. Now to hem the bottom of the lining, I'll just fold it the seam allowance, which is 1/4 inch. And if you'll make that fold and then pull with your fingers, it'll just naturally fold underneath. And then press it. Put a clip in it, take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew down that edge. I have put a starter fabric underneath to start with, and I'm using a 1/8 inch seam allowance. This will also help alleviate that nesting that happens with the thread on top or underneath the fabric, which is really annoying and it doesn't look very good. So to start sewing, make sure that's butted up against it, lined up to where I want that to be. Now when I start on this fabric, I'm going to back stitch and continue sewing. And put a piece of fabric there. Back stitch. And look how nice and neat that looks without that, all that bunched up threads. Now you can just stuff the lining into the pouch. Poke out the edges, and voila, you have another cute little zipper pouch. That one turned out pretty cute, don't you think? Now something I didn't mention is that you can make this using a lightweight vinyl. This isn't really thick, and if you do make it with vinyl, you don't have to put a lining in it. Instead of putting the zippers sandwiched between your lining and your outer piece, all you need to do is sew the right side of the zipper to the right side of the vinyl. Down that way, flip it open, top stitch, and then do your seam down and over. Pretty simple, and they turn out really nice. Now I'm going to show you a few ways that you can embellish or make these a little different. This one I have used a lightweight vinyl. You don't have to finish or line when you use vinyl, so it makes it even quicker to make. I have applied a little tag here. I just have a little label there if you want to learn how to make your own labels. I have a tutorial on that. And this denim pouch, I have applied a little heart with using Wonder Under, which is really fun to use. You could do all kinds of shapes, different things. You can embroidery on there and just leave them plain. But look how many fun options you can line them with, switch out different colors of zippers. A really fun thing. So if you like that tutorial, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you do that. And click on the bell. You don't want to miss out on any tutorials that I put up, and that will notify you when I do. And if you want to find other sewing, crafting, DIY projects around the house, check out my website, youmakeitsimple.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Have fun making mini pouches, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.